This particular narration, this is called 24 Gurus. This particular personality, he's learning from 24 different living entities a particular quality, and he sees that quality as the instructions of his spiritual master for practicing devotional service. So this is interesting. If you haven't read this section of the Bhagavatam, it's really interesting. I'm going to skip the Sanskrit and go right to the translation. We can go right to the translation. So now, he's here now, he's responding. He's talking to the king. O king, I have taken shelter of 24 gurus who are the following: the earth, air, sky, water, fire, moon, sun, pigeon, python, the sea, the moth, the honeybee, the elephant, the honey thief, the deer, the fish, the prostitute, Pingala, the kurara bird, and the child, the young girl, the arrow maker, the serpent, the spider, the wasp. My dear king, by studying these activities, I have learned the science of the self. Interesting. Okay. So this particular purport just focuses on the wasp. So it's here, the wasp is known as the supasykrit because it causes the insect that kills it to take a beautiful form in its next life. So when the wasp kills a particular insect, that insect sees that wasp in its last minute, and then it takes on a more beautiful insect-like form in the next life. So that was one example, but I'm going to go according to. So from the earth, which is the first one he mentions, he learns tolerance, service to others for their welfare, and tolerance of disturbance caused by others. So the earth is known to be very tolerant. They drill into the earth, they explode bombs on the earth. Says the earth has to carry all of the sinful living entities upon it. It becomes very tolerant. The earth is a personality. She's called Bhumi Devi. We understand her activities just prior to Krishna's advent, when the earth was overburdened with demoniac forces. She went to Lord Brahma and prayed to Brahma, please do something to relieve the burden upon me. So the earth was also experiencing a great burden. That was because of all these demoniac forces. So, but the earth becomes tolerant. And also tolerates the disturbance. And what does the earth also do? It provides everything we need to live. Krishna has given us this material body so we can somehow or other live in this material world. But this body is nourished by the earth. Food comes from the earth. Herbs, which you use for medicine, come from the earth. So all of our medicines and all of our food come from the earth. So the earth is very magnanimous. But she's also very tolerant because so many people abuse the earth, and yet she goes on to continue to give despite all of the travesties that are placed upon the earth. So that's one quality. The second one is actually the earth is the personification of tolerance. Trees, mountains, They serve the welfare of others also. They give shade. Just like Prabhupada says, the tree is the most tolerant of all living entities because you can pick fruit from it and get some benefit from the fruit. You can take shelter under it during the hot sun. They cut it down and use its wood to build houses or to make fires. And the tree never complains. That's why we say, Sharnadapi, Sunichena, Tayor Iva, Sahishnuna, more tolerant than the tree. So the tree is very tolerant. The earth is very magnanimous and tolerant. The tree is very tolerant. So this personality, he is a Brahmin. He's called the Avanti Brahmin. He learns from the earth, from the tree. Tree is also part of the earth, of course. And then, what's the next one here? Air. Simply satisfied with whatever food or drink naturally comes. Let's see. Life air, that's life air. Okay, wind. Comes in contact with many sensual objects, remains unattached. The air keeps moving. And as it keeps moving, it picks up different odors. Sometimes pleasant odors, sometimes very unpleasant odors. You can tell where you are in terms of the environment by the fragrance within the air. But the air doesn't touch these things, it moves along and it keeps going. So here, what is that quality? That is kind of detachment. Comes in contact with so many things, but is not attached to anything. So this is the quality of a Vaishnava. The Vaishnava is attached to Krishna in devotional service. The Vaishnava may be given so many opportunities to enjoy so many things, or even things that we need to live with, such as house, friends, families, and others. Things that come in our way of life, which are numerous. But a devotee is not attached to anything. If something comes their way, they can accept it and use it for Krishna's service, or for their own personal needs, if this is required, or they can just give it up if somehow or other, by the arrangement of material energy, it's taken away. But here's another quality of a devotee, detachment. This is also illustrated again later on by Pingala, the prostitute. She exhibited detachment in a very powerful way. We can talk about that also. So I'm going to mention a few of these, and then maybe we can discuss before we continue on. There's 24 of them, so it's a lot. So another one is the sky. The sky is everywhere and rests in anything, yet that does not mix with anything and still remains undivided. When you look up in the sky, you see clouds, you see birds, you see various types of airplanes and other objects in the sky. But the sky and these objects don't touch. They don't mix. The sky remains separate from all of these objects, but at the same time everything is within the sky. So here the quality is that to be able to mix with anything and not be affected by whatever you mix with. That's one of the qualities of the devotee. Unscathed, undeterred by or unaffected by anything they come in contact with. Just like sometimes a devotee gets sick. So the devotee knows, I'm not sick, it's my body that's sick. But because I have a body, I try to bring my body back to a healthy condition. So devotees don't get overwhelmed or what we say, get depressed by reverses in life, because it all happens to the body and not to the self. So we deal with that, and we learn that, whatever may come my way, it's simply in relationship to the body and doesn't touch me at all. So a devotee is not divided, sometimes happy, sometimes distressed. They're detached from all these. Water purifies everything it comes. A devotee purifies everyone he comes in contact with, just that water purifies each object in contact with. A devotee is also sweet, like pure water, compassionate, and a friend to all. So you can mix water with so many different substances, and the water also expands things. When you add water to something, it makes that object greater. So for a devotee, they are like water. They purify everything, but at the same time, they remain in their spiritual essence. Just like if mud comes into water and you have muddy water, if you take a filtering system, you can filter out the mud and then the water is clear again. So in one sense, even though coming in contact with so many impure objects, the water remains as it is, although it appears to be impure. So the quality of a devotee here is devotee purifies everyone they come in contact with. Why? Because they carry Krishna with them. Because they carry Krishna with them, they purify others simply by their association. Okay? Fire. Fire is another one here. Fire burns everything in contact. Saintly persons in contact with material objects remain untouched, even if they eat contaminated food. By the power of their austerities, they remain unaffected. Fire is sometimes seen and other times not seen. The devotee, in order to teach, reveals their glories and burns to ashes the material person's possessions without enjoying them. Fire is hidden in wood and manifests there with friction. The conditioned souls remains fully spiritual, although not forgetting the Lord's service. As sparks of a fire appear and disappear, material bodies are appearing and disappear. The soul is not affected by the various. So from fire, learns that it comes in contact with anything, and it also burns that object. So if fire is the purest material element within the material existence. That's why we use fire a lot in our worship, because it's pure. It's untouched by anything. Okay. What do we got here? We got the moon. The moon, the stages of life beginning with birth, the different phases of the moon, and ending with death have no effect on the eternal soul. Just like our vision of the waxing and waning of the moon does not affect the moon. So the moon, does the moon wane and wax? No, it's just from our angle of vision. It looks like that. The moon is always the way it is. It goes through periods of darkness and we see partial of the moon, but the moon goes through different stages, comes in contact with different stuff, but is never affected by that. It remains as it is. So a devotee goes through different stages of life. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the soul travels through boyhood to youth to old age. The self-realized soul is not disturbed when the body is gone. Because they know I don't die. Just like the moon may go through different phases, but it's still unaffected by its phases. Still, the soul, the devotee, is not affected by the different stages of life. They remain fixed in their Krishna consciousness, even during death. They see death as just an opportunity to move to another place to continue their devotional service. That's all. That's the moon. The sun. So this one's a good one. The sun absorbs water and returns it in the form of rain. So this is all coming from the sun. Why is this rain coming from the sun? Because the sun absorbs water from the bodies of water on the earth, creates clouds, and then at certain times those clouds release the same water that it was absorbed by the sun. So the sun is the source of water, but the cloud becomes the medium by which we receive that water. So saintly persons accept gifts and then return them when asked. They never think, I got, I gave. The sun acts and pure brings up. So the sun remains in its position. It doesn't gain anything, doesn't lose anything. So when saintly persons receive something, they accept it and then they give it away. They don't possess anything. The sun reflected in many objects remains one and undivided. So when the sun is out, it covers the whole universe. So one might say, wherever they are, the sun is with me. But actually the sun is everywhere at the same time. The soul, reflected in innumerable material bodies, remains undivided and non-material. Just like Vidya Vinaya Sampane, Brahmani Gavi Hastini Suni Chaiva Supakecha Pandita Samadarshanaha. So a saintly person sees that same soul in all living entities, despite the particular body that that living entity may have. This is not a insect spiritual being, a human spiritual being, an elephant spiritual being. They see all living entities as spiritual beings with a variety of different bodies. That's all. So they see the soul, and they also see the body, but they see actually the person. They identify with the person, and not so much with the particular body they inhabit. So that's the sun. We'll do another one. So now we can learn from the pigeon also. The pigeon is foolish because it's too much attached to affection or concern for anyone. Pigeons are very affectionate. Prabhupada says, pigeons, the scriptures actually say, pigeons have sex life up to 60 times in 1 hour. So some people might get excited about that and decide to become a pigeon. Of course, not devotees. Yeah, you can see. When I was in Ujjain, there was pigeons all over the buildings. Just, I don't know. I can't imitate a pigeon. They're just kind of this sweet sound, calling his girlfriend. Pigeon is foolish because too much attachment and affection for anyone. And what does that do? That leads to unhappiness. Too much attachment or affection for any particular living entity can lead to unhappiness. Why? Because that is also temporary. And when we put too much affection towards something in this material world, we can never fulfill the desire to be happy in that way, because it's just not possible. It leads to unhappiness. And then it goes on to say, affection and attachment for the Lord, when deviated to others for sense gratification, it leads to unhappiness, along with great efforts to maintain and expand it. And then the subtitle is Foolish Materialistic Householders. They get so attached to their everything, their children, this, that, that. And that attachment leads to unhappiness after a certain point. Because no one can reciprocate that type of affection. At the same time, time changes the whole situation. And whatever happiness they may get at a certain point is lost in due course of time. So the more one is affected by attachment, one suffers the same amount when it's gone. So remain detached. Okay. Too much affection. The pigeon. Okay, so I don't want to go, I don't think we're going to cover all of them. The python, this is the snake, the python, to maintain the body with what easily comes away. Now, python is a snake that stays in one place, it doesn't move. And whatever comes its way, it accepts as its food. It doesn't endeavor for food or bodily maintenance, always satisfied with what comes along, peaceful with regards to maintaining the body, not accumulating more and more material assets. So a devotee depends on the Lord. Just like, a brahmachari is not supposed to eat unless they ask their spiritual master, can I take prasadam today? So they are dependent on the mercy of the Lord even to get the basic needs such as food, like that. Of course, the householders, they make their plans. Sometimes you go to a householder's house, you open up the cabinet door, and everything falls out. There's enough food there for the next 100 years. I think, and they'll say we're stocking just in case there's a war, but that's just an idea. Some people are laughing because I've been to some of your houses and I know what it's like. Anyway, so to be, all right, Krishna, just like that story of Srivas Thakur, when Lord Chaitanya said to him, how do you eat? How do you live? You don't even do anything. How do you maintain yourself, your family? You got a big family. He just clapped 3 times and he said, one day, if Krishna doesn't feed me, 2 days, if he doesn't take care of me and my family, 3 days, if he neglects us, I jump in the river and drown myself. The Lord was so happy when he heard that. He roared in happiness and he said, Srivas, even if Goddess of Fortune Lakshmi Devi has to go with a begging bowl from home to home, there'll always be food in your house. Because he had full faith by serving the Lord, Krishna will provide everything. It's like that. There's a story of one great sage, what was his name? Srihar Swami. And he's considered to be the topmost authority on Srimad Bhagavatam, Srihar Swami. He was married before he became into the renounced order of life. And his wife was pregnant. And at childbirth, the wife died. And now here he was with this little baby. And he's thinking, how can I maintain this baby? Then all of a sudden, he saw this lizard, and it was a baby lizard, tiny lizard, and it was just sitting there, and one fly came flying in the area of the lizard, and literally went boop, and he ate the fly, and then he got the message. Krishna's providing food for everybody, and he just left. and became Sridhar Swami. Krishna will take care of everybody, takes care of even the non-devotees. We don't have to work hard for food. Everything is provided by the Lord simply by one's devotional service. Okay, so we spent 45 minutes almost on the first 8 or 9. So there's more, but any questions or comments? If not, we can continue with the list. Anything? Yes, Brinda?
Raj, I'm wondering, for every devotee, there seems to be certain qualities which are easier to cultivate than others. So is that because it comes from previous lifetimes or impressions, or because they're not cultivating or applying the process properly? Or is it because some qualities take more patience to cultivate?
And you can look at it in a specific way, and you can look at it in a general way. Excuse me. In a general way, yes, it takes more patience. Some qualities are easier to deal with, such as, becoming detached from everything and being fixed in oneself is actually a certain stage of bhakti, where one manifests that quality of detachment because they have developed strong attachment for Krishna. Because no one can be detached without being attached to something. So the understanding is devotees detach themselves for everything that is contrary to their devotional life and attach themselves to everything that's favorable. And specifically, they become attached to Krishna, or they become attached to the association of devotees. So that's a general way. But certain qualities may be easier and more adaptable for some, and others maybe a little bit more. So what this Brahman is, he's seeing all of these different elements within nature, and he's seeing what they exhibit, and he understands, and he's taking that quality and applying it in his own life. So we can also, it says that a sincere devotee tries to see the instructions of their spiritual master in everything and in everywhere. That way they're never separated from their spiritual master, nor the path of bhakti either. So this is the lesson that he's teaching us, how to see Guru in everything, in the form of the Guru's instructions. For some it's easier, and some it may be difficult. That's due to our previous conditioning.
So is it fair to then think that it's not about how long it takes to cultivate those qualities, but it's about the perseverance, the sincerity, and that we keep trying?
Yeah, because if these qualities are in line with your devotional service, then they're worth achieving. There are certain things in this world we want, but we don't really need them. But these qualities will help us in our devotional lives. So therefore, we see it's valuable to adopt these, especially tolerance, humility. These are the most important qualities. Yeah. So perseverance is something like, almost like determination. To develop determination is another quality that takes detachment from material sense gratification. Those who are too much attached to material sense gratification cannot be determined. It's not possible. They say, I want to be Krishna conscious, but they're too attached to the material energy. Therefore, they can't stay steady in their devotional service. And they try to figure it out. Why am I not making advancement? Because they're still looking towards the material energy for some kind of satisfaction, some happiness like that. The mind cannot be fixed. on Krishna consciousness. To become Krishna conscious, you have to use your mind 24 hours a day to become Krishna conscious. There should be no gaps. And learning how to see Krishna and everything in Krishna is the process of always staying fixed in devotional service. And these qualities help us to remind us how we should be approaching Krishna through these different characteristics. Yeah. If we look around here, we can see so many lessons that we can learn just by being here, aside from what I'm saying. We learn from other people. We also learn what not to do from other people. That's also a lesson too. Sri Devi?
Guru Maharaj, my apologies first for being a little late, but I had the question when you said that devotee is neither affected by happiness and distress. I was thinking about that because that's a very big challenge for me, and I was wondering what stage of bhakti one needs to reach before one can get that detachment.
Well, Nidal Shraddha Sadhu Sangha Bhajana Kriya Anartha Nivritti. So as long as it's certain that the anarthas is still present, that won't manifest. So one has to go through the stage of anartha nivritti and overcome most of the anarthas, not all of them. And then one can be fixed on the platform of Nishta. Nishta means, despite what happens or doesn't happen, I'm not going to deviate from my devotional service. I'm fixed. I might get sick. Somebody might steal something from me. Somebody might do something. I might even try to do something and it fails. Still, I want to chant. I'm not able to chant for some reason. I can't get no taste. It doesn't matter. The devotee will not leave the process of bhakti, despite whatever happens or doesn't happen. So that these two things indicate happiness or something that is favorable, something that is unfavorable. Actually, everything is favorable, but this happiness and distress refers to the material. I feel happy, I don't feel happy. Well, who cares? It's not about you feeling happy or not. Just stay in Krishna consciousness and you'll be happy after some time. And then after a while you become so happy and you get attached to being happy, and then Krishna puts you in a situation where your happiness is gone again. And just to see if you're attached to happiness. That's another form of attachment. You should be attached to service. And to get to that stage, we have to accept happiness and distress as it comes and goes. That's all. There's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita that says that one who is not elated by happiness or distressed by something distressful, they're fixed in devotional service.
So in order to get attached to a devotional service, we have to overcome all these anarthas and come to at least Nishtha.
Yeah, well, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that the anarthas for offenses carry on beyond the Nishtha stage. But the other anarthas have to be destroyed on that stage. And of course, we've discussed the anarthas before. There's so many different anarthas.
Thank you.
Okay, there's another question here. Where? Oh yeah. After that, then Krishna Kaviraj. I'm going to sit down for a second. I'll sit over here.
much. I know you said within happiness and distress, who cares? You just carry on doing service, but someone who's...
I want to be happy, but I'm not. Don't worry about it. Just carry on. Focus on your service. That's all. A desire for happiness is a lower stage of bhakti. If I'm happy, I'm enthusiastic. If I'm not happy, my enthusiasm is out the window. No. Stay fixed in your devotional service. Because Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, people are motivated by fear. That's the lowest stage. If I don't serve the Lord, He's going to smash me. He's going to make my life rough for me. So you see many spiritual traditions, they promulgate this idea of if you don't serve, you're going to suffer. We mention that, but we don't emphasize that. Because anyone in the material world is already suffering. And then higher than that is, yeah, I'm happy, therefore I'll do some service. Oh, I'm not so happy, I'll take some time off and get happy first, and then I'll come back again. So, and then higher than that is duty. So there's where Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, fixed. This is my duty, this is my service, happiness, distress. Prabhupada used to say, what he used to say, I never consider success or failure. I only consider the instructions of my spiritual master. That's called one-pointed, ekavratta, fixed. Okay, devotional service is everything. All of these other things are just circling around devotional service. Stay fixed in my service. Stay fixed in the process of hearing, chanting, associating like that. So that fixation comes on the stage of Nishtha. But you can do it before Nishtha if you somehow or other don't let these ups and downs derail you from your practice of devotional service. Well, wait a minute, yeah?
Thank you for what you answered.
It's good? Okay. So Sri Devi's jumping back in here. Okay, Krishna Kaviraj is next.
But Guru Maharaj, you will not also say that if you're not happy, you're in Maya.
Yeah, but get out of Maya by doing service.
But we see that there are many devotees, for years they're doing service, but they are grumpy and irritable and can't get anywhere.
I don't see people like that.
I see people like that. Me.
Okay, well don't be grumpy. No. There's grumpy, there's happy, there's sleepy, there's all the different dwarfs. You know.
Okay, thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, I didn't have my coffee today, don't talk to me. Yes, okay.
Very much. You said that one of the barometers of making spiritual progress is how much we are developing the qualities of a Vaishnava. How can we tell if we are developing any qualities of a Vaishnava?
You have to look. Am I becoming more tolerant? Am I becoming more detached from happiness and distress? You're just talking about that. Am I being showing more kindness to other living entities? First principle, and the first quality of a Vaishnava is kind to everyone. Doesn't see anyone as their enemy. Even if someone makes a Vaishnava his enemy, The Vaishnava doesn't accept that same thing. He doesn't see anyone as their enemy. He works for the welfare of everyone. These are some of the qualities. There's 26 qualities. They're mentioned in the Bhagavatam in 3 or 4 different purports. Just look at those 26 qualities and see, am I developing this quality? One of them is poetic. So you've developed that one. So a devotee is Prabhupada's nickname was Kavi. They used to call Srila Prabhupada Kavi. Kavi means poet. Prabhupada was a great poet also. Yeah. You can sit there, that's fine. So silent, doesn't eat too much, tolerant, free from false pride. So in the Bhagavatam, if you want to look it up, it's from the 5th canto, 18th chapter, verse number 12, the listing of the 26 qualities of a devotee. His Holiness Satsarup Maharaj has written a book, 26 qualities of a devotee, where he takes each one of them and explains it in detail. You can get that book. That book was published about 40 years ago. It's called 26 Qualities. Yeah. So go through there and see how you're doing.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, you mentioned the first quality of a Vaishnava is he doesn't see anyone as an enemy.
That's one of the qualities.
But often in this day and age, there's kind of, I haven't seen it happen here, but personally in my life, you see that within devotee circles they become cliques. And devotees say, oh, this devotee's done this to me, therefore he's not my friend anymore, so therefore he shouldn't be your friend either. And it's
material, it's Maya. It's the activities of the gross materialist. It's not a Vaishnava. We may not associate with certain people because of the way they behave and act, but still we don't make them an enemy. We avoid association that is what we call asat. Satsang, not asatsang. That association, that is association of Vaishnava, and not the association of those who are materially contaminated, and use those qualities to exhibit their activities. When you see that in devotees, sometimes you tolerate it and you go on with your service. Other times you avoid it, depending on whether it's going to be beneficial for that person or not.
That also apply in a setting where it's a senior devotee who's in a position, let's say within a temple or a movement.
But still, the word enemy is something different than just distancing yourself from something that is not Krishna conscious or negative. That's not an enemy, it's just a person who's contaminated with bad qualities, that's all.
And how should we react if then we are criticized for stepping back?
Tolerance. Prahlad Maharaj his father tried to kill him, but still he loved his father. And the first thing he asked Nrsingadev after Nrsingadev had killed his father, is to give his father liberation. He was still thinking about the welfare of his father. Even when his father was harassing him, he was preaching Krishna consciousness to his father. So a Vaishnava doesn't develop enmity or enemy. They tolerate difficulties and sometimes in many cases avoid these different situations. You have to avoid certain associations, that's all. Okay? Any other questions, or should we go? Okay, Manisha?
Thank you so much for such a wonderful class.
All the way up, because you speak so softly.
Maharaj, how to attach but not too much attached, because if we want to take it some...
If you get too much attached to anything, you'll suffer, no matter what it is. If you have a husband and wife, you can develop friendship and also loving affection, but your relationship is to work together to become attached to Krishna. So you serve each other, associate each other, and you find happiness in that association, but your attachment's to Krishna. When you lose that association in the material level, you don't feel unhappy because your real attachment's to Krishna. When we get too much attached to a person in this life and then we lose, we suffer. I know people who have lost friends and relatives, and 20 years later they haven't got over it yet. They're still in a very morose type of mentality. And that's Maya. To feel unhappy, to lose some affection, some person you're affected to, is the initial response. But you don't stay there. You may feel unhappy or even lament the loss, but then you move on and go on with your devotional life. So too much attachment and affection will not allow you to move on. Too much, then the question is, what is too much? That means you become over-dependent on that person. A devotee is never dependent on anyone. They're dependent on Krishna, they're dependent on the spiritual master's mercy. Here's where they put their dependence. Because everything we have in this world will come and go. Even the association of devotees, we'll lose that after some time, but it'll change. We develop affection, but at the same time, the reason why we associate with each other is to develop love and friendship for each other, which helps us to also come to the point of pure, full Krishna consciousness, because devotees represent Krishna. So there is some affection there, some attachment there, but too much means when that is taken away, there's too much suffering. Sometimes people can't go on when they lose. I've seen it, even devotees.
So how to avoid too much attachment?
And get attached to Krishna. That's the whole idea. Attachment, detachment. Attached to Krishna, detached from everything else. Okay? It's not that we have affection and relationships with others, but it's all about our relationship to Krishna. If we have affection and relationship with others, but there's no connection with Krishna, then it's material. And it's selfish. That's selfish. We develop attachment and affection for each other as devotees because of our connection with Krishna. That's not selfish. But if it's all about me without Krishna, then it's just selfishness. I use that other person for my own happiness, and when they're no longer there, I feel unhappy. Or no longer be able to fulfill my need for happiness, then I lose that. I leave that association. Happens all. This is the way of the world, but we're meant to go above all of that and become attached to Krishna. Krishna Matta, Krishna Pitta, Krishna Dhanabram. That's not just some saying, it's the reality. Everything that you have is coming from Krishna. Everything you are is all due to whatever Krishna has given you. Even the people you associate with. When you understand that, then you understand that attachment to Krishna means affection for other living entities also, because everything, they're connected to Krishna also. And how you show that affection? By service. Service. Service is the key to connect with everything. Even in this material world, people want relationships with each other. It's based on serving each other. Otherwise, it's just infatuation. Okay? Thank you. Yes, Sri Devi? You like this particular analogies? You find it helpful?
Yes,
It's interesting. Take time and go into that part of the Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 7th chapter.
So, Guru Maharaj, I know this is a very deep anartha and only you can help me. That's why I'm asking this question again. I don't understand how we can go on in bhakti without feeling some happiness.
Well, the happiness that comes from bhakti. How could you go on? You're going on now. That means you're getting some happiness, right?
That's the only happiness I have. So I was
That's real. That's transcendental. Susukam kartavamyayam, Krishna says this process is joyful. If it's not joyful, who wants it? Why would you perform devotional service if you can't become happy?
So feeling happy is legitimate and bona fide, right?
Yeah, but real happiness, not this happiness. Krishna says, what is it? Yehi sparsas tadambogya
Right.
dukkha yona yayevate
Right.
avanta kuntaya nateshu ramate. He says, connecting the objects of the senses with the senses is not happiness, it's this course of misery.
Right. So when we say we get happiness by serving Krishna, that's bona fide, that's legitimate.
Hey, go for it.
Okay.
That's what we
Yes.
want.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
But even if you don't get it, doesn't mean you stop your service.
So that's the question that puzzles me. How can we not get it?
Because
Because Krishna is the source
Krishna,
of happiness.
yeah, but if you continue your service, you'll be happy. At least you'll be peaceful. Happiness is in one step up from peace. Peace means I'm free from anxiety.
Well, I'm very happy when I'm preaching, but when I'm not preaching, I'm not so happy.
Keep preaching.
Okay.
Don't stop. and you'll be always happy because Lord Chaitanya will bless you over and over again. Yeah.
Guru Maharaj, over the last 2-3 days I noticed quite a few of the devotees have raised questions around where a so-called senior person in
Positions, yeah.
positions and they're either criticising or lashing out or making people unhappy. And if you permit, I'd like to share an experience that I found an alternative solution. So, first of all, there was a service authority that was always lashing out, and I noticed it so much when they were lashing out at me, and at first I thought tolerate. So I was tolerating, and then I noticed they were lashing out at others, including new people, new devotees who were becoming inclined to turn away from the temple and not come. So then I felt I need to do something, say something. Other devotees had already approached authorities and that hadn't worked. But I found a solution that has repeatedly worked for me in that these, I just treat them, approach them with a lot of love. And
That cools them off.
it does, and it changes their attitude and approach.
Yeah. I had a situation where one senior devotee, he was quite senior, he found fault with a senior devotee who was one of my closest associates. And so I approached him. He was finding fault regularly with him but not directly towards him, but just in general speaking. So I approached him, and then I challenged him. And he got really angry at me. I sat there. I didn't say anything. And after he vented all his anger, he actually apologized at the end. And then he realized that he wasn't acting properly, and he actually started to stop criticizing that other devotee. So I didn't do much. I said a few words here and there, but I just tolerated it. You can't do that in all situations, but in certain situations it does work. You have to see the person. Yeah. But when leaders abuse their positions by venting their own anxieties on others in the name of their position, that becomes very unpalatable. Because Prabhupada said, the junior devotees should be very affectionate towards the senior, the junior devotees should be very obedient to the senior devotees, and senior devotees should be very affectionate to junior devotees. He said that's the relationship. And when senior devotees don't, then they actually misuse their position. To be in a position of authority doesn't mean to be angry, but to somehow or other guide, instruct, and also criticize someone or take issue with certain things they're doing that is not healthy. That's their service. But it shouldn't be done in a way to push the person down. It has to bring them up by the way they act, and not. So we shouldn't carry our negative attitudes towards others in the role of the position we play in helping others. Prabhupada sometimes got angry, but in 1 second later, it was like it never happened. But that anger was good because that person actually benefited from that. He used anger in the right way, but he was never controlled by anger. He used anger. He knew he could turn it on, he could turn it off. But some people, when they become angry, they become overwhelmed by that anger, and they say and do things that even later on they didn't mean or they regret. Because anger blocks your intelligence. But using anger as a tool to help someone or to change the situation for the better is Krishna consciousness. Okay, so we have any more questions on, Nrsimha Leela? Today we did the 24 gurus from the 11th canto. We did about 8 or 9 of them so far. So we're just discussing the different qualities that each of these gurus exhibit.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, you mentioned detachment, and in one of Shiksha we find that we should try hard to develop that attachment to the Guru. So what does it mean to try hard, practically?
To try to listen. I think Shrutakirti mentioned how when someone who had some association with Prabhupada, all the other devotees would get around, what did Prabhupada say? What did Prabhupada do? They wanted to hear everything about the spiritual master, because it became so much a part of their spiritual enthusiasm when they heard about their spiritual master. So we should connect with the spiritual master and hear as much as we can. And also, as we said in the first lesson, ask questions. Maharaj Sukadeva Goswami glorifies Maharaj Parikshit for his questions. He said this is the quality of a Vaishnava. They want to know more. They ask. Even the questions they didn't ask, they want to know the answers to those also. That's in one of the verses we just did. So eagerness to know the philosophy, to practice, to know about Krishna. If we're not, then what are we doing? When we get eager about something in this material world, we just focus on that. There are people who start clubs around certain ideas and certain people, and they get absorbed in that. There's one place in America, it's in Mississippi, I think, there's a place where Elvis Presley, the whole city is centered around Elvis Presley. The man has been gone since almost 75 years. But people still play his music, they have programs, just like, what was it? The Beatles. Beatle fans, they have conferences. And they get together and do everything about the Beatles for 3 days. I was in Chicago, and they had a 3-day conference in a very exclusive hotel, all about the Beatles. And they invited us because they knew we were connected with George Harrison, so we also spoke at their conference. And it was just Beatlemania, they even call it like that. So become Krishna mania. Yeah, and Krishna's got many more qualities than the Beatles do. Many attractive qualities. Actually, we say whatever good qualities anyone has, it comes from Krishna. Yeah, so that eagerness is good. Yeah. Is there, yes, Mataji? Sukavaha, you ask?
Hare Krishna, please give me the confidence to talk. If I talk to my Guru Maharaj, my heart beat is so high and
Hare Krishna.
I feel so nervous, so please give me
All right.
the confidence and bless me. Anyway, this is my question. I'm slow because I have to translate Gujarati in English to you. So
You can
learning myself.
speak in Gujarati, and then somebody will translate it into English. Just speak in Gujarati.
Then I will speak in English, my Guru. Maharaj said, you said detachment, right? How it is, for me, it is very difficult to detach from the...
I'm not saying it's easy. Nobody said it was easy. But still, what are we going to do at the time of death? We have to be attached to Krishna. If we're still attached to something in this world, we have to take another birth.
As you know, Dimple, as you know, my son, they are all 50s plus. My grandchildren, they are near 20.
You can be their well-wishers, you can be their mother, you can do things to help them and guide them, show some affection for them. But you should understand that they belong to Krishna, not to you.
Yes.
Krishna gave you your husband, gave you your son, your daughter, all whatever you have is coming from Krishna.
So when my daughter-in-law is expecting, we take her to the temple, and then grandchildren born, and they are all Krishna consciousness.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's what we want.
We, Ekadasi, we try to sit together, bhajan and bhojan together, and we enjoy Ekadasi Prasadam.
That's
together.
Krishna conscious, yeah.
So, I am in this situation.
Well, be happy.
Okay, that's why I am always...
I remember in the early days of Krishna consciousness, there was this philosophy. If you're happy, you're in Maya. Because we're not supposed to be happy. We're supposed to be Krishna conscious, which means that we're not happy, but I don't know, the idea was, happiness was seen as some kind of maya. Because we were connecting happiness with something external.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. So this is what I wanted to tell you. We are one together, and my children, and for me,
they're not your children. They belong to Krishna. They're not your. Yeah. Get it right.
Sorry. Correct me. Thank you. Every minute you correct me. I so appreciate.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You also belong to Krishna too. Everybody does. That's our existence. We have Sukhabha here. Okay,
Can I add something?
Don't get attached like she is.
To be quite frank, just there is a difference, Guru Maharaj. What you say is absolutely true. A mother's I have this, if I can share with your permission, I have this dilemma at home where I remain focused on Krishna. What comes and I address it and it's behind me. As a mother, she tries to detach and still remains attached. So and this is something which we try to make sure that we remain detached, because otherwise we can't progress.
Your attachment should come by giving them something that will help them become Krishna conscious. That type of attachment is good. I want you to become Krishna conscious, so let me offer you something. That's good. That kind of attachment is beneficial for you and for the person. But not that we're attached to their body, we're attached to them as a spiritual being.
I agree. Thank you.
What my experience, Guru Maharaj, when my son was 3.5, and at that time he was young, in our 20s, and I said, I want to, I was machinist working, making clothing and everything. And I said I wanted to buy a bangles, old bangles. I was quarreling with him. So money goes like this in bills and this and that. And then my son came to me and he said, "Oh, Mommy, why are you quarreling with Papa with gold and this silver?" And he said in this, in my language, "Mommy, if you love Sonu and gold, Krishna will take it to the heaven." And it opens my eyes. When he was 11,
Yeah, sure. We can learn from our children also.
Yes, and he...
Child's the father of man. They say that.
And he saw us in Vrindavan. He, in his mind, he said, one day I'll take to Vrindavan to my parents. And age of 16, he took us to Vrindavan.
You have a wonderful daughter. She's very Krishna.
She's in Vrindavan, she give you regards.
She's very... I check with her if I need some questions asked, answered. She's very intelligent and very fixed in Krishna consciousness. So you did a good job.